Check, 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 check. All right, let's see if that works better. Maybe I should just look here. We have sound. We have sound. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Good. Good. So, like I was saying, welcome back. Thursday Night Hang, Coffee and Cigars live stream. Ferio, Tego, Generoso, 2023 from Michael Herklotz. And like I was saying before we had our little bit of a stream interruption, one of the problems with the stream interruptions, I've got an old laptop. This is a 2013 MacBook Air, and it's been perfectly fine for everything that I use it for now. But after the first of the year, it started getting wonky. So I don't know what's changed, but it is kind of old. I really should be replacing it soon. I'm trying to hold off from replacing it until my main channel gets so much money that I can afford to buy a laptop with it, with the money that's being held in it. So like that channel only makes like a little, like $30 a month or something, $35 a month, something like that. So it's not like a tremendous amount of money. But after 2 years, there's a decent amount of money. There's like over $1,000 just sitting there. And because I haven't given them my tax information and my bank information, they've just been hoarding the money. So it's been building. Because if you imagine, like if you got into your account like $30 a month, what would that really do? Nothing. But if you hold off until it's all like a big amount, then you can go buck wild with it. So that's kind of what I've been waiting for. But like I was saying, Plasencia, I was talking about Plasencia. Plasencia back in 2011 was just more of a contract manufacturer. They did make they had a little small line of cigars under their own brand, but it wasn't really distributed. I think it was just given away at the factory. And Nestor Plasencia gave me some of those, which were fine. Very mild, especially when, back in that era, I was, heavy into Tatuaje, getting into Roma craft. So you wanted something with Mafuerte, right? A little bit strength and power, some like, and these Plasencias back then were very mild. Of course, several years later, they came out with things like the Almafuerte under their own brand. And that is like, some of those cigars were just powerhouse cigars. So Rusty says, I think you need to hire someone to sign in the court. That would be nice. But, the main channel only makes $35 a month, so I couldn't afford anyone to. This channel makes nothing. Like, how many years have we been doing this? Well, we're only at 114 subscribers. Like, if you tell your friends to subscribe, we need more subscribers. We need like 1,000 subscribers, right? Actually, it's funny because on this channel, when I was signing in today, it said that, people are really watching your videos now. You've reached 4,000 hours. And I was like, 4,000 hours, really? Is that aggregate total for the entirety of the channel or just in the past year? Which I think is just the past year. So that's a good sign. But the key is to have 4,000 hours of watch time, but you also have to have 1,000 subscribers. So without the 1,000 subscribers, you don't get anything. All right, so the doors open. While we were doing this, I opened the doors to blow out some of the air. But man, it is getting chilly. Chilly in this mother. But we should definitely score the first third. I think the body's medium, and I think it's a very high quality I'm going to say 875 for the body. Flavor-wise, man, it's really nice. But I mean, I'm going to say 875. I can't say that was excellent, but it's really, really very, very good. Like, so we got 8.5. Then we have 8.75, 8.75. So 50, carry the 1. 16, 17.5, 8.5. All right, so we're rolling. We're rolling. I mean, even though like yeah, it's good. It's very good. I'm really gonna have to get another Suma to see how it is a year later. Right now, the spice has kind of changed, right? In that little brief time that we had for our break, it's gone from spiciness, smooth spiciness, that elegant spiciness, into the maybe it's my palate or whatever, but like the spice has downshifted. It's not, or it has upshifted into something more smoother, something coasting along. It's not that spice. The spice is not what's driving the flavor at the moment. It's kind of like a little bit of a change. It's just a little bit less spice, a little bit more cream, a little bit more smoothness. Brian says, I think he needs a dry erase board. That would be nice. But we have the chat. I can actually, send messages on the chat side of things. The only thing about like heaters in the cold weather is that the heater is always to one side of you. It's only one plane. Like what you want, what I really would love to have is maybe two heaters, like two 30,000 BTU heaters, so that you can be ensconced from both sides. That would be brilliant. That would be like toasting on both sides, like a piece of toast in the oven. That'd be awesome. Because while I'm warm here and my thigh is kind of scorching at the moment, this side is cold. Well, you guys know what that's like. We've all been around the heaters and fires, so. What else been happening? Anything else interesting? Not too much interesting. I took that class last weekend. Yeah. I missed my trip to North Carolina because I got ill right after the other two shows ago. I was like, oh, man. Like I say, the coffee is a nice companion to the cigar. I think what I need to do is close the other door. Because I'm trying to get this kind of circulation effect with the fan. Okay, maybe that'll be better. Maybe that'll be a little more enjoyable. So how's everyone's cigars coming along? And I know Tony's smoking, but what about the rest of you? George, are you having more of the Nick Manillo kind of cigars? I'm going to take the bands off because I think we're at that point. We're almost there. It's just made by Michael Herklotz. One of the things that I noticed about Michael every time I see him, and it just occurred to me as I was thinking about this, he's very European. He's an American guy, but he's very European in that he's always nicely dressed, like very well composed. I was just thinking about the last time I saw him, which was at George's birthday party in September. Very nicely dressed. Like, it's like Europeans always dress nice, right? They're always nicely dressed. I don't know what it is. They just have this sensibility that they must dress nicely, right? Like I think one of our friends here, like he's not European, but he goes to Europe a lot, so he's got a lot of European influence in his lifestyle. Eric, you guys all know him, and Eric's always dressed nicely too. He's always dressed nicely. I'm always like, all right, I like that. I should do better. Then I think another friend of mine, Mark Inman, he's another coffee buyer. No, he's always dressing nice too. Like, and him and I always get into these discussions. Like he's a Delta flyer. I think he's Delta. And he always talks about like his big thing is like he's trying to promote dressing well when flying, right? And I'm definitely always, in opposition to him because I'm the kind of guy that like wants to travel in like shorts, typically cotton, athletic shorts from Champion with a cotton t-shirt and sneakers in any cost of service, especially if I get upgraded. And he's always like, we must dress nicely. It's like, you're crazy, man. I'm sitting in first class so I don't have to dress nicely. And also just to irritate people like you. It's like, Brian says, Steve, you out there? You driving home? Let us know, Steven. Let us know. I got my back scratcher because that piece of hair is stuck in my shirt and it's just like itching me right there. I gotta say, man, these have gone up in price. They're like $2 now. They used to be $1. But these bamboo back scratchers, God, this to me is the true evidence of a deity. This is what shows me that there is a God in the world, in the universe. This is it right here. The fact that we have this, so that, you know, those moments you're scratching, you just kind of like reach in and the thing I like is I want it to be a little bit sharp right here in the edges so you can dig in. Like I like to dig in there and just, I try to keep one everywhere. Like at my desk, there's one. In the car, there's one. Like there's one wedge between the seats so that any moment that I have an itch, I can just and put it back, right? It took me a while to put one here in the garage. And I was like, man, I don't know where the other ones went. I was using saws and knives, which, you know, could lead to like bad results. Rusty says, I understand the whole idea about dressing nice during flying. However, exactly. Especially when I was a bigger guy, like I just want to be comfortable already. I'm going to be comfortable. I don't want any of that stuff. And especially when I was a bigger guy, right? Like one of the things, like, you know, here's the problem. When you fly a lot, you get a bit like particular about what you like, what you don't like. And so I have like TSA pre-check, and I hate to go through regular TSA. Hate it. And you don't have the scanners. You have to go in there. I hate those too. I hate those. Just give me the regular metal scanners. And if you go through TSA pre-check, you get the regular metal scanners. So every once in a while, when I'm forced to travel amongst the unwashed masses in TSA, and they're like, you need to go through the scanner, I always opt out. I'm always like, I'm opting out, right? And a lot of times if I'm traveling in the warmer weather and I had to get to the airport and I have to walk far, man, I'm sweaty. I'm a sweaty mess, man. I'm a sweaty mess. I'm sweaty, right? So I'm just like, they're like, scanner? It's like, opting out. Oh. Come stand over here. And then they get some guy to come out to do the body frisk. And, you know, I'm literally wearing cotton shorts, cotton t-shirt. There's nothing to hide, right? I'm a big fat guy. Ain't nothing to hiding there, right? There's no weapons on me, right? You'd see it. And I'm kind of sweaty. So I'm just like, they're always like, do you want a private screening? No. I'm happy to stand right here and let the world see you rub a fat guy, sweaty fat guy in front of all the world to see. I'm happy for that. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Rusty says, same. Besides back scratchers, I have chapstick. Oh, chapsticks. I'm not a big chapstick guy. I always thought when I was younger, I don't mind chapstick now that I'm older, but when I was younger, I always felt like if I put chapstick on, there's always something, I don't like it on my lips. I just didn't like that. It used to give me the heebie-jeebies when we were young. But now I don't care. Like I'll use chapstick now. Chapsticks for your back or else. I don't know if I'd use chapstick for elsewhere. Maybe some Astro. George says, I dress nicely every day for work, ripped jeans and t-shirts on the weekends, feel good. Absolutely. Although, you know, I had a trip, like it was 2009, I think it was. I just bought a new pair of jeans. I don't understand the ripped jean thing, right? I don't understand it, right? So I got these new pair of jeans, brand new pair of jeans, Levi's, nice new jeans, right? And I brought them on my trip to Nicaragua, and I'm judging this competition. And for whatever reason, somehow I got my knee or like my pant leg caught on like this hinge, and it tore a hole in the knee. I was like, Oh God, brand new jeans. I was so upset, but like, so I wore them because I had no choice that day. But man, the airflow, I don't like the airflow. I don't like that change in airflow on your knee. Well, I just don't. Ah, I don't know why. So I mean, I get it. It's cool. People enjoy it, but I'm just like, to me, it's just weird. It's just strange. I'd rather wear shorts. Just give me shorts. I'm happy with. I love to wear shorts, man. If I can wear shorts as much as possible, I want to wear shorts. Like even in the cold weather. Actually, I used to. Not anymore. Like when I used to work in movies, we always wore shorts, right? There was one movie we were working on. We were working on a movie called The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. We were shooting at the stadium downtown. So we were shooting from like September to like January. And the key grip and I got into this argument, not an argument, but a challenge, right? Me, my department head for video, and the key grip had this challenge. Who could last in shorts the longest on the shoot? Nobody else was doing this. After a while, nobody else did this, but it was just the three of us. Who was going to wear short? Who was going to wear pants? Right? You could wear tights, right? Like you could wear like tights under your shorts, but you had to wear shorts. I can say that with great pride that I never lost. Neither did the key grip. I gotta say, the key grip, my department head, the three of us, the shoot finished before we were going to give it up. So, and the key grip, and they were both from LA. So I was like, respect. Rusty says it's always chef coats for me in school. When I wear anything else, the kids look like they've. It's interesting you see that because when I think about it, like I would see, when you run into, teachers from the context of school, and you don't really think about it other than in school. And then when you see them in the real world, it's kind of weird. You're like, whoa, there's Mr. Kremlet in the real world. It's just weird. So, Rusty, do you have like a particular make of chef coat that you like? I gotta say, I forgot the name. It's a French designer. I like the one that Ramsey wears, right? The one that's tailored, that has the fleurs, the little like knots, and it's kind of V cut. Man, I like that style. I had one made for me by Happy Chef. That's in that style, but like the one that he has is like super fancy, really nice, like linen, like really nice material, really well cut. The one from Happy Chef is like $30. So nice cut, decent enough cut. Looks kind of decent, but not of the same level. Like his is like crisp. Like when I met with him once and he was wearing, I was like, oh, that is really slick looking. I was like, that's nice. That's nice. That's probably like $200 or $300. I was like, brother, oh yeah, thank you. But I wear chef wear. Chef Works. Chef Works, I think, is nice. I've not had chef wear. I've had Happy Chef. I've had Chef Works, and I had another brand. There was another one that I got in the '90s when I was culinary school adjacent. Like I went to this school in Hawaii that was like, I went to a business side, the side of the school, and the other side was culinary, and it was kind of like I was culinary adjacent. And one of the instructors there, man, he had this one chef's coat, really 90. Like you look at it now, it's very 90s. It's kind of like you think you're going to be doing like some kind of like hip hop from the 90s, like R&B 90s group, right? But it's kind of got this like V cut to it with this like flap that comes over. It's really cool. Like it's dated now, but I was like, I still have it. I was like, oh, I was wearing it not too long ago. I was like, oh, it still fits. Well, it fits now, and it didn't fit before. Always short sleeve, and I do. I gotta say, I have one that is long sleeve. I don't really wear that one ever because it folds when you fold it. It's like here, so it's just a little bit on the wrist is exposed, which is nice. And I've never gotten it dirty, but I never really wear. I do. I'm like you. I do. I agree. I think the short sleeves are a little bit nicer, just more comfortable, and less chance of you getting it dirty. But and then again, I would almost never wear it. Like I would only wear it like at certain times, like if we had to. Like if I was if I was cooking someone else's line, just kind of like a guest thing. I did that at Woodbury a few times. I would wear the coat, but most of the time, like if we were at Spro cooking, it was just t-shirts, or even a commie shirt would be fine. So the cigar, like the spiciness is definitely toned down. It's more. There is some spice. It's lighter and a little bit more creamy, but good body. Like it's still very smooth and just very enjoyable of a cigar. It's super nice. Yeah, the coats. I don't have any. I don't have any real need to wear it anymore. Like I don't do any kind of cooking anymore. So, but every once in a while in the morning live stream, if there's a reason to, I can don it. It's kind of corny. Early on, I had one that was black. Like in the early, like about 20 years ago, I got one that was black, which was at the time I thought was cool. But as I look back now, black is all right. But I think white's the only one that's truly like true, right? It's only that's where the truth is in the white. The colors, like you see these other guys, they got like purple and blue. I'm not a big fan of those. The black was svelting, right? The black was svelting, so that kind of helped. The old Fogel Stogies is here with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? I absolutely love this cigar. I smoke this at least every couple weeks. I drink it with an Ethiopian yogurt. Ooh, that's a good choice, I think. Yeah, this has really been very, very nice. Like it's nice and smooth. I don't know if you agree with the notes that I've been talking about. Like the spice is still low, but it's nice and smooth. Maybe even like a bready character to it at the moment. Creamy, really, really, really nice. Rusty says I have white, black, and green. Ooh, green. What kind of green? When I would help out at Woodbury, they gave me one of their aprons, which is a green, more of a not quite olive green, a little bit deeper green than olive, like more like towards, but olive, but kind of towards hunter, but not quite hunter, like not like a shade darker than what I'm wearing right now. Maybe it's not darker, maybe a shade grayer than this one. I thought that's nice. At Spro, we wore. I have a blue one. No, the blue one was from the J Shea Vice days. At Spro, we used. Oh, I think we used blue at Spro as well. Blue over the white. Is that right? Gosh, it's been so long now. It's been like almost 6 years. Ofogustogi says, I let him age for 6 months or so, and wowza, makes it even sweeter. Oh, and the French exhale. Oh, I'm really bad at that French exhaling thing. I'm presuming that when you say the French exhale, you mean the one that they call the, what else do they call it? They call it when you blow through the nostril. I'm really bad at that. The retrohale. Thank you. And I'm going to take the upper band off because we're getting there. Almost to the end of our second. Rusty says, I love the blue commission aprons similar to oh, those are nice, man. I got to say, those guys that worked at the French Laundry, especially back in those days, man, I'm a little bit envious. I don't know if I would have had the chops to do it, to survive it, but I am envious. I'm old school, says the old Fogey Stogies. It is a French exhale to be. I've never even heard of that. I don't think I'd ever even heard of this whole retrohaling thing until maybe like 10, 12, 13 years ago. I think it really kind of came, well, at least in my world, I think it really kind of came more to the forefront after Half Wheel really started to establish itself. You know, here in Baltimore, when I was smoking, when I was, you know, early in the cigar years, like in the mid to late '90s, we didn't do anything. We didn't really understand any of that. We just kind of hung out. I like it though. Hey, I just tried doing that. I can't really. So, Old Focus Stogies, if this is your go-to every couple weeks, what other ones do you put into your rotation as heavy as this one? Man, a lot of what we taste comes from the nose. You know how when you're all stuffed up, you cannot taste anything? Absolutely. Well, there you go. It makes a huge difference. I know. I need to get better with that. Oh, there we go. Still not there yet. What I try to do, I try to cheat a little bit. Sometimes I'll do a little. It's not quite the same, I don't think, because you got to. I think having it come from the back of your nasal cavity really like gives it a whole nother impression. This particular coffee that we're using now has it's our house coffee from Spro, but it is right now the big component of it is um, a Pacavita from Honduras. It is a washed coffee, so kind of similar. Well, it depends. Like a lot of the yogurt chefs that I work with tend to be more washed coffees now. Um, it's the Hararas that we normally get that are natural process, so that's where you get a little more of the fruit. But this one, from at least the yogurt chefs that I tend to go for, this would be somewhat similar, not quite the same, but somewhat similar in the fact that it's wash process rather than natural process. But still, it's nice. It's got chocolate notes. It's got a good body. I think it goes well with this cigar in this particular instance. Well, that definitely was that definitely came through. Yeah, there we go. I smoke a lot of the definition and Aneos. Oh, I'm not familiar with that. I love the Dunbarton Sobremesa Blue Brulee Blue. Oh, that's a good one. I also smoke a lot of the Matilda Joe Sons Josejas and also the HVC La Rosa 52010. You know what? I have not, outside of the Sobremesa Brulee, well, I don't even know if I had the Brulee. There's only one Brulee, right? But I've had the Sobremesa Brulees. I've had HVCs, but I've not had the La Rosa 520. And I'm not familiar with the Matilda Sons Josejas. What part of the country are you located in? I find that there's a lot of some cigars just don't get as well distributed, but also I'm not one that goes to a lot of cigar shops anymore. But there was a time we used to spend a lot of time in cigar shops and trying the different cigars, but I haven't really done that much at all lately. Like the cigar shop that I've gone to the most over the last like 3-4 years has been Capital down in Bethesda, which is kind of far from me. So, and usually when George is there, so he's always like, try this, try this. Oh, I'll try that. Kansas City. Oh, okay, Kansas City. Man, I haven't been to Kansas City. Gosh, it's been 20 years. 20 years. Back when Arthur Bryant's or Oklahoma Joe's was still, it's just now called Joe's, right? It's Joe's now. It used to be all Oklahoma Joe's. Is that right? Like in 2004, 2005, I ended up going to Kansas City quite a lot. One of my buddies owned a place called the Roastery in Kansas City, and he was very involved with the competition. So we all got together quite a bit out there for some of those events. And Tony wants to know, are you smoking the Sober Mesa Blue Lonsdale? And Brian's asking, any thoughts on the Jake Wyatt cigars? I bought the 5-count sampler box today, but haven't tried. I'm not familiar with the Wyatts. Oh, I drink a lot of their coffee. Yeah. Gosh, now that I can't remember his name, it's been such a long. He used to be very, very involved with the Specialty Coffee, and I used to be involved with the Specialty Coffee Association, but he has not been. Oh man, what? Gosh, what is his name? Man, he always gives me a big bear hug. Super tall guy. Oh gosh, he was like one of my mentors early on when I started in coffee. Like he was one of the people. Him and John Sanders were like people that really kind of helped guide me and helped give me direction in coffee. Probably led me astray into the dark arts of specialty, which was. Without those guys, I probably would have been all into the frappes and probably made a lot more money by this point. George says that onto the LCA exclusive gold band that Tony helped me with the name. Great caramel taste on the light. Ooh, that sounds great. The Brulee Blue only comes in the 6.5, 46 Vitola and the Unicorn. Oh, okay. How is the cigar scene in Kansas City? I think in the trips that I was there, I didn't because we were doing heavy coffee stuff. So I don't think I went to any cigar bars or cigar shops during those trips because they were typically like over a weekend. But how is the scene there? It's pretty good. I mean, I imagine it's pretty good out there because it's Kansas, Missouri. Tony says it's Amara something, but I'm not sure. Okay. I guess it's a little bit tough to keep up with the LCA because there's so many different releases. Like I can't keep up. I think the only person that can keep up to the LCA releases is Mum. Right, Mum? I think I would say you're probably the connoisseur of LCA. So I gotta say, this cigar has changed. Like early on, we were into the spice. And then as we progressed through the second, third, it kind of like it shifted to a little bit more of that smoothness, a little bit less spice, more smooth. And now it's shifting again away from that. Like now I'm not really getting spice at all. It's really more bready, softer, rounded. Tony says, I was thinking of the 6.5 by 46. Okay. And Ofocus Stogie says, I also love the La Palina Goldie Prominente. Oh, I don't think I've had I don't think I've had the Goldie line or maybe I have. Back when Lisa Sigler used to be the rep for La Palina, I got to try a lot more of the La Palinas, but since she went to go work for PCA, I have not. Actually, I haven't seen Lisa as much as I used to. Devin's with us. What's going on, Devin, man? How are you doing? So, Devin, where are you this week? Right now, are you still in Asia? Because you were in Korea, outside of Busan last time we saw you, and then you were on the way to Tokyo. Did you make it? And did you get to go to any of those places that we had talked about? Because you were in Osaka. Was it Osaka you were going to go to? Or was it or Tokyo? Tokyo, yeah, because I remember I mentioned to you a place to smoke might be 311's coffee. All right, I got to close the other door because it is cold, man. It's cold. I'm freezing. George, I don't know how you're doing out there, man. How are you doing out there in the porch? And Fogey Stogies, how is the weather? Are you outside also? Or are you able, or do you have like a lounge that you're smoking from, or maybe your own private cigar room? And I open the door instead of closing it. That's a mistake. Still in Korea, heading to Tokyo City. Oh, nice. So are you still down by Busan, or are you up in Seoul? Seoul. In like Mexico, the Spanish-speaking people, they say Seoul, Seoul. don't know why that came up. That's very strange. Devin says, different place around Busan this time. Roasting a little on the stronghold. Ooh, nice. Okay, so you're roasting on a stronghold. What are you doing there? Like, where are you roasting on a stronghold? Are you on vacation? What's going on down there, man, or over there? I ended up, speaking of Japan, I was I do this woodworking thing as a side fun thing, and I've been getting into these Japanese chisels and called orinome. And it's interesting because there's Western chisels and there's Japanese chisels, right? And these Western chisels, they're very modern. They use very modern steels like O1 steel or A2 steel, things like that, which are alloys. And where the Japanese are, I guess, someone termed it, they call them pre-industrial revolution kind of products. So the hardness, they're actually able to achieve greater hardness in their steel for woodworking than the Western counterparts, right? I think there's a whole like hardness scale. I think the highest that Western chisels reach is like 58 or 60 maybe, where Japanese chisels start at 60 and go up to like 65. But they're able to get this because they do this lamination of, or not, I don't even know if it's considered lamination, but yeah, I guess it's lamination because part of it is softer metal to take the impact of a hammer. And then the other part of it is a harder steel for the cutting surface. And they balance it so that you can get good cutting and a long wearing edge that's also relatively easy to sharpen. Because the harder your steel to hold the edge, the longer it holds the edge, the more difficult it is to put an edge on it after it gets dull. And so I've been playing around, and I had my brother pick up one chisel for me while he was in Tokyo at this place called Inoya Hamono. But I called the Inoya Hamono guys, and I was like, hey, man, Inoya-san. I said, hey, are you guys shipping to the U.S.? They're like, no, we stopped shipping to the U.S. because the tariffs that we have here and all whatever happened with in the past year, Japan Post has the Japanese postal service has stopped shipping parcels to the United States, and that's how they would do it. So this guy that I know in Australia, who frequents one of the forums that I participate in, I was talking to him one day. He's like, because he's like super talented, like he's like amazing kind of work. And I was like, so who do you use? He's like, well, I use this guy Stan, some dude named Stan in Tokyo. And he gets like the finest equipment. He gets the finest. He like is this American guy that lives in Tokyo, works for a Japanese construction company, and has spent like 30 years there and building relations with blacksmiths, old school blacksmiths, guys that are like old, like they're gonna die at some point, right? And he finds the finest tool steels. And I wouldn't say they're terribly. I mean, they're not like out like. You'd think that outrageous expense would be like $300 for a chisel. It's like maybe like $90, like comparable in price to what you get here in the West, like from something like Lee Nielsen or Veritas, something like that. So I finally was talking to him. I said, I need a hammer. And in Japan, they make these hammers using this kind of like lamination method where they use this softer steel for the main body of it, and then they tack on this like plate of hard steel for the head, for the face of the head. But in Japan, they're very much about like you have to tune your tools. And I was like, tune my tools, right? So they're like, so we're going to send you the head, but you have to make your own handle. Like, make my own handle. I'm in America, man. We buy handles here. Like everything comes finished. I know you have to make your own. All right, fine, make my own. So I ordered one. And I'm awaiting DHL to send it to me. Like, I thought they were going to be here today. They have not arrived. I guess maybe tomorrow. But it's kind of like, he was like, there's going to be a tariff. I was like, great. Sorry, I got the tariff notice this morning. And 17.8% tariff. I mean, I guess overall it's not terrible, but before there was no tariff, so now there's a tariff. So, yeah, the Rockwell hardness scale. So Ovogi Stewie is gotcha. Exactly. Oh, Foggy says another cigar I really enjoyed smoke a lot is the Liga L40 Lancero. Ooh, that sounds good. I used to be a big fan of the T52 Bellicoso, the stock cut Maduro. Man, there was a number of years where that was like what I smoked all the time. But then they kept getting it. That was when they were like $13. And at 13, I was like, okay. Once they got to 18, I was like, I gotta slow down on that craziness. Like this one, $25. Respect, man, respect. But I do miss that. I did enjoy those T52s really a lot. But I'm dedicated. Some might say insane. Says George about being out in the weather. Hey man, however you can do it, that's what it's about. Oh, Foggy still is. I'm 56. Me too, man. Me too. We are all about the same. Tonight I'm enjoying the Grand Habano Black Dahlia Corona. Oh, that I've had. That is a nice one. That's a fun cigar. I haven't had it in a long time, but Devin says, I don't want to put too much on your show, but I wrote a book on roasting. Oh, really? Oh, wow. I didn't know. Dude, I didn't know that. You're always happy. I'm always happy to hear you tell us what you're doing, man. I happened to be in Korea and I met up with a guy who got a book and we were just chill. Oh, awesome. Awesome, man. Is he a roaster in Korea or is he just an enthusiast that has a stronghold in his house? Which, wouldn't surprise me. So it took me a long time to go to Seoul after I got in the coffee business, right? Because back in the 90s, I ended up in Seoul quite a bit because as I was transiting to the Philippines, I would go to the Philippines and we would transit at Gimpo Airport. This is before they built Incheon. And so United would fly us, I think, we flew from, I don't know, LA did we fly to Narita? No, I think we flew LA or Chicago directly to Gimpo. And I remember my first time at Gimpo, we had a 4-hour transit in Gimpo, just waiting. And I was like, I'll just stay. They're like, you can go outside and like go through customs, enter the country, and pay your entry fee, or just wait. And I was like, well, I'll just wait because 4 hours. How bad could it be, right? We're in an airport. Back then, like in the 90s, Gimpo was a miserable. Like the transit area was just this blue wall, like it was painted, like the concrete walls were painted blue with these rather uncomfortable. The chairs probably for half an hour would be fine, but for 4 hours, it was misery. It was just misery to be there. Like, and there was nothing. There was no food. There was no lounge. There was nothing. I was just like sitting there After that, anytime I transited through Korea, it was always like, I'm going to pay the fee, enter the country, because United had their lounge, but it was pre-security. So I would enter the country, have the passport stamped, go to the lounge, hang out for a few hours, then go back through customs, get this passport stamped again, and then fly. It was ridiculous. Incheon is a much better airport for transiting, but it's also farther out of the city. I did fly into Gimpo a few years back, like in 2019, I think it was, when I was in Tokyo, and I wanted to go to Seoul to see a place called the Green Cafe. And so I flew in and I went there and we flew into Gimpo and I was like, okay, this is not bad. I mean, because you're just passing through it, but I didn't go to Korea for many years. And I remember as I was in coffee, people were like, man, Koreans, man, they're crazy about coffee. They're crazy. There's a coffee shop on every corner. And when people talk, you always, especially when they talk like that, you just think it's hyperbole, right? You're like, oh, okay. Coffee shop every corner. All right. So finally in 2015, I was asked to oversee their national barista championship. And so I flew to Korea, to Seoul, and first time in a long time. And I remember I was riding on the bus into the city. And as we're driving, and I would see coffee shops. And it wasn't on every corner. like they said. It was on every corner, plus every half block. And I was like, wow, there's so many coffee shops there. I think that's changed. In the 10 years since that started, I think it's slowed down. I think a lot of, because you go to some of these cafes, they're really small. They all have their own little roasters. They all roast around, and you're like, and they're empty. And it's like, how do these people make any money? And I think a lot of them did close because they just weren't making money. And I'm having a little bit of combustion issues right now. I may have to touch it up a little bit. Brian says, at 56, you're still a young fogey. The tariff is terrifying. It is. It's terrifying. That's a 56-year-old joke. Oh, focus service. Not if you take into consideration how long I've been awake in 56 years, probably more. And Lancero says Devin is one of my favorites. Have you been able to smoke while you're there in Korea? Brian says, you and me both retired and now sleeping again. Okay, I'm going to have to relight this because it has kind of slowed down. Maybe because I'm talking and not puffing enough, but we're going to hit it with some more flame. If I can. There we go. All right, what else I have to do is turn that fan off because it's actually putting cold on my back. Tony says, I scored some H99 Lanceros at a local shop. Nice. That's one of my favorites, along with the Velvet Rat. Ooh, that is nice. I haven't had a Velvet Rat in a long time. Oh, Focus Stover says, yeah, me too, Devin. I am working my way. The DTT, Dunbarton Tobacco Trust, GFY Lancero collection. Oh, and loving it. Also, the Hoy de Nicaragua Uno Lancero is a delight. Ooh. Oh, yeah, that's another factory that I've toured. I've toured that one. Those guys were nice. The Cuenca family is very, very nice. Oh, Foggy says that a nice Tommy, great, my man, nice, nice. Well, coffee is the number 2 drink in the world next to water. That's true. That's true. Tony says, I always buy the Tatuay Lancero collection when I see them because it's just a good, agreed. I tried the Cuban brand. I forgot the name. And oh boy, I really like that. Ooh, which one is that? I've had the Trinidad Lancero in the original form when it was still their only cigar. That was very nice. What other Cuban Lanceros? I don't know if I've had a lot of Cuban Lanceros. My Cubans have always been like the number 2 Monte Cristo, the Bolivar Bellicoso, the Partaga Serie D number 4. Yeah, I know. I mean, I've had a Cohiba Lancero once. I would say probably just a Cohiba for me in the Trinidad. Old folk is asking, so what relative humidity do you like your cigars to be when you smoke them? You know, I have this humidor that I kind of keep probably closer to 68, 65% RH. I think I like it there better. One of the interesting things, I have this humidor in my house that is fairly stable. Like I don't really do any, like a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into like monitoring it. Like I do have a monitor that alarms, like it tells me like if it's too much humidity, too little humidity, too hot, which never gets too hot, or too cold. Actually, it dropped below like 62, so it was like beeping today. I was like, oh, well, I can't do anything about that. I'm actually not too worried about being colder or not necessarily too dry. But I think 50, 60 for me, 65 to 68, I think is a nice spot. Devin says he's been roasting, had a 8K, then went back to bar, then opened his. Oh, wow, that's awesome. And old Fogey says, my favorite Cuban is Partaga Sardina. Yeah, the Sardina number 4, man. When it's Cuban, it's like that with Cubans. Cubans, when they're good, they're really, really great. You just don't know if they're always going to be great. I got to say, one of the places that I used to buy from that I haven't bought from in over 10 years because they stopped shipping to the United States was a place in Geneva, Switzerland called Gerard's. Vahe Gerard is the owner. And in 2014, I was going to Italy. So I flew into Milan. I flew from Dulles in Virginia to Milan overnight, the overnight flight. And then I was like, I need to go visit Vahe. So I called Vahe before I left. I was like, I'm going to come visit. He's all right, come out. So I rented a car in Milan, drove all the way to Geneva that morning, right? This was going to be a mistake. Like, this was actually a mistake in planning. I had to be in Trieste, Italy. Not Trieste. We had to be in Rimini, Italy, like 2 days later. Yeah, 2 days later, because I flew into Milan, rented a car, drove to Geneva. Like, I didn't get any sleep. I can't sleep on a plane, so I was already tired. So I drove to Geneva, went through the Matterhorn. What is it? No, went through Mont Blanc. Kind of awesome. Went to Gerard's, hung out with him for a few hours, gave me a great tour, awesome facility. Then I was driving back then I had to go. I had a hotel reservation in Maranello because I wanted to go to. Was I going to check out I just wanted to go to Maranello for Ferrari, right? And on the way there, I was so hungry. I was like, let me stop it. I was passing through France, and I stopped at this McDonald's, and I was just so like tired. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I threw it away, and if I left it on the tray of my food and I tossed it, or if I was just distracted and somebody swiped it. But my phone was gone. By the time I walked out to the car, I was like, where's my phone? So I had to get a new phone. I was like, oh man, that sucked. Then I had to drive back to Maranello. So I think I got to the hotel in Maranello like right around 1 a.m. And it was a brutal day. It was like brutal, but it was a great time. It was a great time. Devin says, I've been traveling with this box the whole time, and I've only been able to smoke a few. So are you traveling through Korea and then Japan? Are you on a book tour, or is it just like a holiday for you? And then you're just meeting up with different like coffee people along the way. And I don't know if you've been to Seoul in the past week, but if you did, were you able to get to Gimisa? Like, I'm really, really interested to hear like people's experiences at Gimisa. Devin says it's a brown one, looks like the Triunfador label. Oh, I think it might be just the Triumph, because the Triunfador until just this past year or so, I think was only a Lancero shape. Now they have a Robusta shape, which is actually really a great one. My friend Dave gave me a box, and I was like, he gave it to me, he's like, wait a while. So, all right. So I think I waited almost a year. And then I tried it. And then I started pounding on it. So it's the problem. You get a nice cigar, and then you pound them, and then they're all gone. And you're like, ah. Tony says, I agree with the 65 to 68. And Old Fogey says that, yes, mine are all 65 and usually smoke around 58 to 62, burn better. And say, ooh. Yeah, I think the humidor right now is probably pushing to the lower 60s. I find that when it's at 7, like true 70, it's a little bit too spongy at times. Some cigars are very spongy. Devin says, no, but both of those are amazing. Tatuai released an original version of the La Riqueza Lancera in a box set. So good. Oh, yes. Agreed. The Troubadour, which is the regular-ish production. Okay. And Foggy said also, I love the Bolivar. I too love the Bolivar Belicoso Finos. Oh, man. I haven't had that one much. One of the ones that are newer to the Cuban lineup that I started smoking in like 2018, I think it was. I happened to be in Frankfurt, Germany, November of 2018, I think it was. I was transiting. Anytime I transit through Frankfurt, I usually like stay a day or two during the transit just to go. Actually, really, I go to buy socks. There's a place in Frankfurt called Globetrotter. Yeah, Globetrotter. It's kind of like the German REI. And they had one year I was there. I bought these socks from Sweden, this brand called Falky, and I just loved them. And I was every time I went to Germany, I would stop there and transit and go to the Globetrotter and buy another pair of socks. It's just the silly things. I would go there, get some socks, hang out with my friend in the coffee business there. He owns a place called Backyard Coffee Roasters. And then I would go eat at Zoomlamm Essen, which is this like Hessen kind of food, German food. And then before I go to the airport, I would stop at a place called Kolju Doner and get me a doner for the flight. Yeah, it's always a nice time. Foggy says that, and I have to say the new Opus X Templo de Oro is the new profile for Fuente, but man, it is, ooh, really? All right, I might have to go try that. I have, honestly, I've historically been bearish on the Opus X because when it was first released in in 1995 when they first came out, it was a very exciting time. We were very excited to get them, and I got some because our tobacconist was a Fuente account. And that was, I think back then, it was really the pepper, that black pepper was so new and had a lot of black pepper. And then those cigars, you really had to wait for a year. And I just didn't really groove with them. So I was like, I've always been kind of bearish on them. But, if you're saying they're good, I'll give that a try. Templo de Oro. George says, I'd have to travel anywhere warmer than Maryland. I'm so... Man, the problem with this time of year is that you to travel someplace that's warmer, you really got to travel. Although California, I think, is pretty warm. I see some guys posting from my friends posting from California. It looks fairly comfortable right now. They're still in shorts. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I'm tired of suffering. Yeah, it's been this winter has been pretty significant. Oh, you know what? We're past the second, third. So I'm going to say, I think the performance, while it has changed, I think is still very good. Body-wise, it hasn't changed, but flavor did change a little bit. So, but I'm still thinking very good plus, so 88.75. So that's where we are at the moment. So right now with our scoring up to the second, third, 43.5 points, which is pretty good. Devin says, I'm just traveling and just visiting coffee places. The latter was correct, not about, okay, gotcha. Okay, right on, man. That sounds like a great time. How long are you away for it? Because you what, 2 weeks? I think you're almost 2 weeks in Korea. Then you're going to do a week in Tokyo. Is that right? That's a nice trip. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's a good trip. Devin says the Flor de Rafael Gonzalez is the brand. Okay. I tried all the major Cuban brands too. All incredible. I think they're fermented much more heavily than the New World sticks. Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. And the nice thing is you're a part of the world where you can get Cubans fairly readily, unlike here. You would have thought that with a Republican administration, we would have more openness with Cuban cigars. George says, I'm glad someone else agrees with me. Oh, yeah, we all agree with you, my friend. We all agree with you. And Florida is pretty warm, says Devin. Oh, that's right. You're from Florida. That's right. Devin, you're what, Miami? Is that correct? Old Fogey says that when I retire, I'm going to strap a snow shovel on the front of my truck and drive. When someone asks what that thing is, Then I know I found my. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think you have to go to Florida. Although Florida, I think they're still kind of chilly. Because I think in Atlanta, like Atlanta will still get some snow every blue moon. So like now the cigars changed again. Right now it's so we had a little right about here we had some breadiness, right? So we had spice and then a transition down to a little bit of smoothness and then to a breadiness. Now we're moving to a phase where the cigar is actually demonstrating more of a bright character, a brighter character to it. So the spice is pretty much gone. The breadiness is gone. Now we're in this brighter, not quite acidic phase, but like definitely a brightness to the profile is what's kind of prominent. Speaking of cigars, do you guys ever watch? It's usually on Saturday nights. There's this guy, American guy in Santa Barbara, California. He is a cigar roller, a hobbyist cigar roller. And typically, if I'm smoking a cigar on Saturday nights, I'll end up catching his live stream. He does a live stream I think most every Saturday night, where he just sits there and he rolls cigars. It's an overhead camera, so he's got his chaveta, and he's just rolling cigars. And man, he does roll what looks to be brilliant looking cigars. And he's been doing it for like 30 years. Like I think he's about our age, right? And he's been doing it for quite a while. And it's interesting because people will come on and they'll ask questions like things like, what do you like? Or how does it compare to these other cigars? And he's always like, well, and it's kind of, in some respects, I feel like it's a little bit, his answers are kind of counterintuitive to what we would know, in that he's like, I can blend it. His position that he can blend cigars. He can create cigar blends that are better than what he can buy, which I always thought was interesting because, the general accepted theory is that the tobacco that someone would get that's not buying direct from like maybe one of the big like Lancaster leaf or from farms directly, that the quality of the leaf isn't very good. So I don't know, but it's an interesting, it's a fun thing to spend your time watching. It's good, especially if you're smoking a cigar, somebody's rolling cigars. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the channel right now, but I think if you put cigar rolling live stream into the search engine on YouTube, it'll probably come up. Oh, Foggy says that in the final third of the Generoso almost has a pretzel note to it. Ooh. Oh. I have not got to a pretzel note, but I will keep my eyes open for it. George wants to know, can he blend warm weather? That would be nice. I don't think so. He's a Santa Barbara guy, so he's not even thinking of, his idea of cold is like we would be like shirtless. Actually, was it the other day? Was it Tuesday? It was Tuesday. Like I was walking around out. I was like, man, it's kind of warm. It was like 37 degrees. I was like, this is kind of warm. I'm gonna take off my shirt. Mom says, I do watch him. He has a lot of people. Yeah, I think he's got over 1 million subscribers. So he's got like hundreds of people that watch at a time. I was like, wow. I'm always surprised at his numbers. I'm like, wow. He must get some good AdSense revenue. Oh, Orlando. Okay, gotcha. Oh, yeah, I think he did mention that in the past. One of my friends, I think it's this weekend, or no, next weekend. One of my friends in Gainesville, Florida, is having a dinner. Like he's one of my coffee industry friends. Devin, you might be familiar with it. He owned a place called Volta Coffee in Gainesville. And when he was still operating, I always considered him to be one of the better operators in America. Like to me, it was like Anthony Rue of Volta, John Piquet of Cafe de Bola, and Tony DeCorpo at Troubadour in Cleveland, Ohio. I always considered these guys to be like truly the top echelon of like coffee shops in America, mainly because they're very quality focused and delivering like a very, very like cultivated experience. But he closed his shop because he got ill. He had cancer for a bit, so he closed the shop, and he still has his commercial kitchen where they do wholesale baking for people. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do a dinner. And I was like, oh man, maybe I should try to get down. Be nice to get away from the cold. Oh, Fogey says it has been below zero for the last couple weeks. Oh yeah, man. Here too. And man, my old bones just ache. Oh yes. Thank goodness I have the Death Star cigar bar in my. Okay, like when you say Death Star cigar bar, is there just a Death Star at the bar, or did you go hog wild and build the interior? Is your bar like the interior of the Death Star with the lighting, those like long tube lights? Like that would be kind of epic. Rusty says, have to call it in. Have a good night. Good night, Rusty, man. Good luck to you on the weekend at the restaurant. That mussel special with the string potatoes on top looks amazing as always. Always nice to have a home lounge. It is nice to have a home lounge. I don't have a home lounge. I just have a home garage. Tony has a nice home lounge. Bud has a nice home lounge. Who else has nice home lounges? Scott has a nice home lounge. I do not have a nice home lounge. I have one that's cold in the winter, hot in the summer. Well, definitely this now it has changed again. So we had a bit of brightness. Perhaps what old folks still is saying that perhaps I could say that there's a character now, a little bit of saltiness that could be like a not a bready, but yeah, like I can see what you're saying. But perhaps it's kind of like one way to describe it would be like a pretzel. There's a little bit of saltiness. There's a little bit of that baked crunchiness that you'd think in a pretzel. I've been eating pretzels a bit more lately because I ran out of my favorite pretzels. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I have this favorite pretzel that I found in the last couple of years from a company called Rocky Road Baking or Rocky Road Pretzels. Really strange. Well, they're not strange. They're Amish, so they're kind of strange. And strange in the fact that, like, since they're Amish, they have a P.O. box on the label. And they sell at this place called Paul B. Hardware that I go to in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. And the first time we went to Paul B, I bought a bag and I was like, oh my God, we were in the car and like about to leave. I took a bite and I was like, oh my God, stop. We got to go back in. And I bought like 6 bags. So every time I'm up there, I'll buy like 6 bags. They're really great. Like to me, this is like hard pretzel is like, this is the greatest hard pretzel in America today. But when I run out, it's kind of out. So I've been eating other pretzels, Hanover, Utz. Not bad. I kind of like the one, how there's really thin pretzels and then there's really thick pretzels. There's that one in between. I like that in between size, that thickness, in between thickness. There's a pretzel company that I found that where they were selling at the grocery outlet, like super cheap. And they had one that was like extra salt. Man, that was just like brutal. Like that was like so much salt. I was like, I can't. I finished that bag. Like every time you eat one, you're like, I gotta have water because man, I'm just like, my veins are constricting. Devin says, I did not have a chance to visit to Novolta. So, oh man, that's a shame. They're really, really nice. They were compared to, let's say, like Cafe de Bola and Troubadour. Volta was a lot more. The character of Volta was a little bit more like regular coffee shop in that it was a busier kind of place with more baristas, right? But Anthony's very particular about how he likes everything. So that's where it really made the difference. Whereas like the other two, Debola and Troubadour, is really just them by themselves. It's John by himself and it's Tony by himself. Maybe Tony has one barista to help him out every once in a while, but they're really by themselves doing that like hardcore, like John is very much like the Kiss at 10 style. Tony's much more of American style, but very like particular. I like the very particular kind of places. Like they're very like strange. Right? Oh, focus. A soft pretzel. Soft pretzels are nice. I'm spoiled because I'm tainted, not spoiled. I'm tainted because since I would fly to Germany, you used to do that quite a bit. Since I flew United, and I would have lounge access with United. When you're in Germany, you have access to the Lufthansa lounges. So I would have access to what they call the Senators Club at Lufthansa. And there, they would have these soft pretzels. Some of them like had pumpkin seeds on it. Some of them had cheese baked on top of it. But those were the finest. Like those were like gosh, man, the Bretzen. I think they're the Bretzels or whatever they call. My God, they're so good. Like that's when it comes to soft pretzel. That's the one that I think about the most. Like if I could find that here in America, I would be so like stoked. Tony says Kissel Hill had a bunch of them on Monday. Oh man, should watch some more. Buddy says, I found a guy that puts eraser on carpenter's pencils. Sent to your phone. Oh, erasers on carpenter's pencils. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Erasers on carpenter's pencils. Let's see what he does. Can we make it bigger? Oh, no. Can't, that's not it. Okay, can't make it bigger. Oh, how can I make it bigger?
A number of projects that are going on in the shop these days. I'm doing some floating shelves for a client, including these two here that are made of solid with a hint. Now, take a pink pearl eraser like this. I like pink pearl erasers.
Oh, he takes the pink erasers
more dense and less
and he puts them on top.
Types and brands, so they remove pencil marks better than other ones I've tried. Using a small scrap block and a sharp box cutter, I trim off the bevel end of the eraser so it's nice and square. Next, lay the eraser face down and spritz the back with Starbond aerosol activator.
Oh.
So. Then use Starbond medium CA glue on the end of the pencil, letting it puddle to soak into the wood a bit.
Look at all those CA glues. Here's like 3 of them.
Face of the eraser. Lay it on edge, and then quickly lay the pencil down on the block and push and hold it firm against the eraser for 10 seconds while the glue cures. It's as simple as that. After that, just stand the pencil on end.
That's interesting.
Block of wood.
I'll have to watch that more. But in the woodworking world, that's actually a very subtle flex, right? He's got these 3 CA glues plus the activator. That Starbond stuff is pretty expensive. Each of those is like $15. So he's got like $65 worth of glue. It's like, dude, what? I can't afford to buy one of those. I go to Harbor Freight and buy the cheap stuff. Devin says, I like the pretzel stuff with peanut butter. Ooh, oh yeah, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Do they count? Absolutely. Give me those combo pretzels and then some chocolate to go with it. Oh, God, that's a nice way to go. Okay, I'm gonna take that off because it's kind of sweating now. Oh, Foggy says, ask what my favorite brew method. You know, honestly, I don't know if I have a favorite, but because I'm in the business, so I have a very plentiful amount of brewers, more so than anyone should ever have. It's kind of ridiculous, but despite having all these brewers, the one that I use the most, which is if I'm going to make a coffee for myself, just super simple, is the something called the Clever. It's a full immersion brewer. We've used it here on the show a couple of times, but it's basically this big funnel that has a stopper on it, a valve on it, and you put a Melita #4 filter, you put the coffee, and you add the water like your French press. You fill it all the way up. You let it steep for 3 minutes, and then you put it on, and then it flows into your cup. I use that for the majority of the coffees that I'll make for myself. But so if I had to say what was my favorite, it would be my go-to. That would be my go-to. Like at Spro, when we were running Spro, the retail shop, we had on the bar, you could have your coffee brewed in any of 7 different methods. So we had pour over V60s or different types of pour overs, V60s sometimes. I really like the Bee House type of pour over. We had Chemex, Vac Pot, AeroPress, Chemex, Vac Pot, AeroPress, pour over, French press. We also had one called the Eva Solo, and one more, and the 7th one, and I can't recall. But maybe if I was to think about what would be a favorite, I like the clarity that comes from making a Vac Pot coffee. That could be one of the favorites. Tony says they absolutely count as pretzels, Devin. Absolutely. But if I'm buying combos, I'm buying the cheese-filled cheese cracker. Tony says that the soft pretzel has to be the right little bit of sweet, nice, and chew like the Philly style, but the I don't really like. Oh, I have not had a Philly style pretzel that has appealed to me. Quite a few years ago, maybe like 20 years ago now, a couple opened a shop in Towson near the library called the Old Philly or Philly Pretzel Company. And they made what I guess is the Philly style, because the Philly style I think is kind of crushed, it's kind of narrow, and it's pretty thick and it's baked. I thought to me it was too dry, too bready. And I've been to Philly quite a few times, but I've never really I don't think I've had pretzels in Philly. Usually if I'm in Philadelphia, I'll go eat at, I try to get cheesesteak. Just the worst things possible. But maybe I'll try to do that because I have to go to Philadelphia in a couple weeks. There's a show called Pack Expo, which is a packaging show. It's a biennial event, so every 2 years it happens. So I went to the one 2 years ago, and I'm going to go to the one in about I think it's next week, 2 weeks from now, and it's at the Philadelphia Convention Center, so it's right next to Reading Terminal Market. But the last time I was at Reading Terminal Market for the last show, I ended up having pizza and ice cream. There's a great ice cream shop in that place. But maybe this time I'll try to get a pretzel there. Because I really haven't found that truly stellar pretzel. If you guys have any suggestions of pretzel places in Philly, I'd like to find like the one that's like the one. Devin says yes. The cheese one the cheese ones are one of the best. I love the variety. Yes. When I was young, we did a lot of the combos, the nacho cheese ones. Those are kind of fun. But it says that the cold brew setup you have was very cool. Oh, the towers. We had these towers. Actually, it's funny because the towers that we ended up using are these made by a company called Yama in Japan. They're actually made in Taiwan, but the company's based in Japan. And there was a company called OJI in Japan, OJI. And when I got in the business, they had like these turned rosewood like verticals. Like it's a 3-stage brewer with these really beautiful like hand blown, like beautiful glass. Super nice. And this guy that I know that runs UCC America, Jay Igami, was bringing them in, but they're wildly expensive. I mean, they were like $1,500, $2,000. And I was like, man, it's just so expensive. But they were so gorgeous. Like they're fine looking. You're like, man, I gotta have that. So one year I was gonna buy it. I had finally put aside the cash for it. I was like, I'm gonna go buy it. I was at the trade show and I'm walking down one of the aisles and I see the tower that we ended up going with. And honestly, compared the one that we used, the Yama one versus this OG, the OG was like sexy, fashionable, right? Fashionable sexiness. Like it was like sex on wheels in a brewer. The OG, the Yama was like old fuddy-duddy grand. It's got the turn, but it's all like cheaply turned. It's kind of like got that old like brown furniture look to it. It's cool, right? It's cool. Like if you've never seen anything like it, you're like, oh, that's amazing. People are always amazed by it because we had like I could buy a phalanx of these Yama brewers for the price of one OG. So I was like, because they were like 250. So I was like, I'll take four. So that's how we ended up with those brewers versus because the other ones we would have only had one, which turned out to be more fortuitous because they were cheaper to buy the replacement glass because you're always breaking the glass. The replacement glass was cheaper to replace, and our volume for cold brew was such that we would run 5 towers, and if you reset them on schedule, you could get 10 gallons worth of cold brew out of them, which was per 24-hour period. So 10 gallons of cold brew, which was a double concentrated. So we could get our yield up to 20 gallons of serviceable coffee, cold brew. For a lot cheaper than we would have been able to do it otherwise. Old Fogey says that I sure miss the Wise brand cheese waffles. Oh, Wise brand cheese waffles. I have not had those. I'm not even familiar with that. Tony says the ice cream place I found on the chicken trail had really nice, fresh, soft. Ooh, do you remember the name and where it is? If I find my way up that way, I will go check it out. Those cheese waffles. Oh man, see, I don't even know these cheese waffles. How do you know these cheese waffles? They were so good, and man, I wish that. Oh man, now I wish. Craig's with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? How's the ode? The ode is still jammed. I have not taken the time to unjam it. I still have the other one that's sitting. That's brand new in the box still. I haven't opened that one. How are things in Ottawa, man? It must be fairly cold. But you're probably just like, yeah, it ain't another thing. It ain't another thing. Tony says, I feel like I saw them recently. Ooh, all right. Wise. I'll have to look. Cheese waffles, man. What were they like? That cheesy goodness can be really good. All right, so we're still down here. Like, actually, it's past 10 o'clock, isn't it? My goodness. This cigar has lasted us a good long while. But I think, while I could say that earlier on, like probably right about here, we had that kind of pretzely character to it. Here, that's gone, I think. But I think we can give it at least our scoring. I think we're still very much 8.75s across. Now, burn and draw, I mean, we did have it go out at one point, so I'm going to say 8.75 for that. I would normally say 9. Consistency, I'm going to say 9 because it has been very consistent. Now, overall, wow. I think overall, I'm going to say 8.75 for this one. Which I think is right. Let me double check this. I want to make sure that I get it correct. Darn it. I totally messed it up. Let me do this again. Okay. 8.75 plus 17.5 plus 17.5 plus 17.5 plus 17.75 plus 8.75. Okay, that is right. So our score today, 87.75. So very good. Very good. Just sadly not quite as good as the Summa. Sorry, Michael. The scar did go out again. Oh, Foggy says, just my second stick. I'm now smoking the 2026 Amazon Basin. Oh, nice. Not as good as the 25, but man, unique. Definitely unique. Definitely unique. No Steve tonight. Oh, yeah. What's going on with your brother, man? All right. So that's it. 87.75. A good show. I mean, that's a solid, in our world, that's a very solid score. Just not to the same level as last year's Summa. So take that for what it is. Give it a year, man. It will wake up. Okay. All right. So I guess that's pretty much it for today, this week. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. As always, on the Thursday Night Hang. We'll be back again next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, with more coffee and cigars. So hope you can join us then. And I'm so glad you guys were all to join us. Oh, Foggy Stogies, welcome to you, man. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Craig, sorry to head out so quickly. But yeah, that's it for this time. Back again next week. So hope you have a wonderful week out there. And see you next time.